but this is a new installment on the Stats and Fats show with Fitz. This is actually going to be cooking with fats. And what we're going to do today is we're going to be putting together a very important meal for the campus here today. We are smoking some beautiful, gorgeous baby back ribs. All right. We've got them all out of the package. First steps are done. Now, the back half of these have a membrane. Sometimes you're going to have to do a little bit of slicing, just to kind of get it out of the way. But the best way to do this is to take a paper towel and what you want to do is little by little just take the paper with the paper towel and you'll start to see the membrane start to peel away. Sometimes this will come in one shot. Sometimes it'll break and you got to do it in a second shot. But if you try and do this with slippery fingers, it ain't going to catch. So you always want to make sure this membrane comes off. Now, the reason why that's important is because if you don't take that off, that's protecting the smoke from getting up into the meat from both sides. So we're going to do that on the rest of these here. We'll be right back with you. All right, so as you can see, we have all the membranes off on our ribs. We're going to be splitting them up in just a moment. But before you do that, no rib is set up perfectly for the smoker unless you have the right dry rub on it. So as you can see, we're starting with some brown sugar. Brown sugar has to be there. It has to be the crust for what you are, for what you're going to lay on top of there. You need some coarse ground pepper. Now, I don't like to measure. I like to go by feel, okay? So you'll find that as we go, we are going to have, it's going to look a little over the top, but I assure you, when you watch people eat it, it's going to be fantastic. We got paprika.
Oh, you don't even leave a little sprinkler on there. You just,
boom.
Wow.
Boom. That's the way the FATS does it. FATS hasn't got patience for this, we don't need parts. What does give it a nice touch with the brown sugar is cinnamon, but you got to be very light because cinnamon is very powerful. So we're just going to give it a couple of bam, 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 bam. Just a little touch, a few bams. And then last but not least, you have to have a little cayenne pepper because that's the tang that goes with the sweet. Now, for those of you who don't like hot, you can't put a whole lot on. So we're going to do little bangs just like the cinnamon. Bang, 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 bang. 4 bangs. Listen, it is essential. Your predominant flavor has got to be salt, pepper, brown sugar. Those other flavors are very strong. They're very powerful, and they will last throughout. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get these laid out in separate trays so I can rub them down nice, and I'll be right back. All right, now, here's what we got. We've got 6 racks of ribs. All the membrane is off. We've made our mix. Now we're going to get ready to rub these down. Before you rub them down, you need to have something that's going to make the rub stick to the ribs. And believe me, I know how to make things stick to my ribs. So the first thing you're going to do, you're going to lather these very lightly with some honey mustard. So the mustard, you can use different types of mustard depending upon your taste. But the thing is, you just want to rub these down nicely. And when this gets rubbed all into the meat, that rub is going to stick even better. Not to mention that it'll help to keep the food moist. This is going to wind up creating almost a barky type of crust over the top as it cooks when you add the rub onto it. So you want to make sure you've got enough here to hold that taste on there and hold that flavor on there. I promise you, when you watch the rest of the people on campus eat this a little later, you're going to see their faces, and you're going to want to make the FATS baby backs. This is a very underrated part of it. Most people think that, it's the seasoning, it's the flavor. What happens in the smoker is that, after a while, the meat starts to sweat. The meat literally will start to have all the juice start coming out its pores. And then what happens is all the rub you put on top of it, it winds up kind of running off with it into the smoker. This here is almost acts like an agent to clog the pore. So it helps to keep the juice in while keeping your topping on the meat. You don't make ribs like this. I'll be right back. I'm going to clean up and we'll start putting the rub on. All right, now this is it. This is where the magic meets the subject. This is where the rub gets put on. What I like to try and do, since you only have so much that you make, put a certain amount of rub on each of the pieces of meat and then rub it in. If you have extra left over, you can go back on areas where you think you may be a little bit lean on the rub, and you can go back and kind of fill in the gaps, so to speak. But this is exactly the method you want to be using when you're cooking with the fats. Rub it in, see what you got left, and then go back for more. Now, here's the thing about once you've put the mustard down, sometimes you can just pat this all into place. You now have your barrier between the meat and the rub. The rub is what gives you the external flavor. Unless you've been marinating the ribs, which you can do, but that's a separate technique. Unless you've been marinating the rubs, this rub is not designed to go into the meat so much when you put it on, but rather as a surface topping that'll help aid in the flavor of the rib and keep the moisture of the rib in. So what I want to look for is you'll probably notice that these have all kind of turned a darker red. Mm-hmm. If you look at this before I rub this one, you can see where the fat strands are in the meat. Once I start rubbing it, I should start to see all that turn a darker color. And that's what I want. I want to keep rubbing it until that gets darker and darker and darker. Now look at this. Now that this has had a little bit of time to set and congeal, look at the way that this is starting to gel up on top and glaze itself. That's because the mustard is allowing that to disintegrate and disperse. So as that continues to move across all these meats, it is going to make for one tasty piece of meat. You like a good piece of meat, no? All right. I think we're done here. We're going to get ready to put these things in the smoker. We're going to get ready to get things kicking off. All right, so we're all set up out here in the courtyard. Now, this is what we are getting ready to put into the MasterBuilt Electric Smoker. Now, one thing that's important about the smoker to remember, you need this thing to be clean. You need to be able to see through the glass. You got to pay attention to what's going on. Now, for some of you out there who believe you're master smokers, you may be saying, well, wait a second. You don't put these in a pan in the smoker because then the smoke doesn't come into the membrane of the meat. And that's where you're wrong, folks. Smoke rises, and it's going to encompass the entire chamber of that smoker. So don't get caught up in believing, because you're going to have one hell of a mess to clean up when you're done. Believe me, this is the smarter way to do it, and you still get the exact same flavor. We want these bad boys to a nice internal temperature of about 165 on these baby backs, so we're going to cook these slow and low. We're going to go about 225 for 7 hours, thereabouts, maybe a little bit less, but it's right now 10:30 a.m. out here in the courtyard. We'll check in with you periodically, and I'll show you the progress we're making. Okay, so now we've had these in the smoker for about 40 minutes. Now, this is where you have to get your smoke, your first smoke infusion. Now, for me, I personally like apple wood chips when I'm doing baby back ribs. So it's very simple. There's a little container on the side over here, and there's a little tray inside. And all you're going to do, you're just going to get enough to fill that little space. You're just going to throw some nice wood chips up in there like that. You know what I mean? I'm going to try to get not so much of it on the floor. The folks at the at home office will get a little mentally irregular, and then all of a sudden they'll assign me yard duty. So, all right. So once it's in the tray like that, all I'm going to do is just insert this and give it a half turn, Let it fall into the tray. Now, once it gets in the tray, within the next couple of minutes, you'll see a nice plume of smoke coming up there. Usually take about 2 or 3 minutes, but before you know it, you'll have a nice cloud of smoke. And the other important part is about this, keep your smoke damper closed during this initial smoke. You can either open it to control the smoke, or you can close it. On this initial smoke, keep it closed. So within the next couple minutes, you should start to see this thing get nice and cloudy. And when you do, you'll see all the smoke coming up from the bottom. I'm telling you, don't get caught up in people telling you that the ribs need to be directly on the rack, because that's not the case. Wait and see. There you go, baby. If you can't see it on there, I don't know what to tell you, but there is smoke coming out of that bad boy. And that is going to be some good eating here in just a few hours, baby. Good stuff. Trust me, stick with the trays. Your elbow and all your degreaser will thank you later. All right, it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The courtyard is getting a little crazy.
Just a little.
But we are going to give you a little insight to what these ribs look like at 3 p.m. It's been about 5 hours now. You ready? Stats, come on over here. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Oh, there's a lot of shadow in there, but right now, you can see that they're graying a lot. They're looking good, my friend.
They're looking really, really good. And let me tell you something. You still got another 2.5 hours before these guys reach their peak. But here's what we're going to do. The next thing you're going to see me actually fire up the grill.
Oh.
And when I fire up the grill, I'm going to char the outside just a little bit. I'm going to start with the top. When I go to the top, then I'm going to flip it over, and then I'm going to put the barbecue on the top.
Ooh.
And once that's done, you're going to have perfectly glazed, charred, smoked, baby back barbecue ribs. And you've never had ribs like these in your life. Plenty of smoke. They keep moist. Throw them on the grill, char them up nicely. Wait till you see what happens next. Stay tuned. All right, guys. It's about time to put these bad boys on the grill. We want to char them just a little bit. We want to get them ready to be set on with barbecue sauce. So we'll start with this. Now, start with the face down. You don't want to leave them down too long. Just enough to get a little char on them. Okay?
I know that people really enjoy seeing the fats, but I think these ribs might just be a tad above. They might be a slightly more beautiful.
I'm not quite sure. Listen, you can make a decision between the fats, and you can make a decision between what is really actually being dropped on these grills. That is some incredible rib meat. Look at this. How tender. The fats makes these ribs so tender.
Oh, falling apart.
They break off right in the pan, folks.
Professional camera work here by Stats.
Thank you, Stats. Listen, here's the key part. You have to let these get a little charred. If you leave them in the smoker, then they become a little steamy, a little colorful, but
it's good when it's steamy.
You have to get them really nice and charred, because what's going to happen once we flip these over and the top side's been charred, we're going to put the barbecue sauce on the top, and that's where we're really going to get the flavor and everything that everybody looks forward to when they have a nice little baby back rib. So stay tuned. All right, folks, here we go. Now it's time to barbecue the top. And this is a very, very important part. I don't want to let go of my secret ingredient, my secret sauce. However, you have to make sure that the top is completely barbecued. You do not want to put this face down on the flame, because you will have some issues. Pour this across the top.
Oh, nice lines, Fats. Nice lines.
They're great lines. They're the best lines that you've ever seen. And what we're going to do, we're just going to sop them in a little bit. And you want this to glaze without being on a direct flame. You want them to just be nice and sloppy. Listen, the part about, have you guys ever eaten a rib where you haven't been 100% committed to the fact that your hands are going to get messy, a little dirty, a little sloppy? That's what we're going to do here. We're actually cooking these up to a point where they're ready to go. We're just going to glaze them.
Crackling a little bit. Oh, yeah.
We're just going to glaze them. We don't want to do much with them. Yes. Just pull them back a little bit, guys. Look how tender these ribs are. This is exactly what you're looking for when you're making ribs. They're falling off the bone before you even get them to the table, and that's what your people are really looking for. We want to just suck them up a little bit. All right, here we go.
Did you empty that whole bottle?
No, not quite. There's still some in there. If we need to go back for seconds, we've got it there. But all we want to do is just put them back on there. Once we get them nice and saturated with the barbecue sauce, we're going to close the hood for about 3 to 5 minutes. Let them glaze up just a little bit, and we're ready to serve them. But this is a fantastic day. The ribs that you're about to experience, the people eat, are really going to be incredible. And I would recommend if you were actually out there thinking about making ribs for your family, I would recommend you follow this recipe before you follow any other recipe that there is, because at the end of the day, this is the only way to make ribs for your family.
Fats, what have we got here?
All right, here we go. We've got a full serving of baby back ribs.
Woo-wee.
Now look at this.
You couldn't have gone to a restaurant and got better ribs than this. And this is
want to go to a restaurant.
Festus Senior is about to step up to the
Festus Senior.
Festus Senior is about to step up and grab some ribs.
The ribs look good, my friend.
You should dig in. And for those of you at home who are watching, make sure you keep the ribs in tinfoil pans. Do not put them on the rib rack. You will be sorry. Believe me, these are $1 million.
Scoops, how are the ribs?
They are delicious.
Good,
Very,
good.
very good.
Festus is eating in the dark. How are the ribs? It's a rib. That's the answer.
That's it.
All right, you just did.
Pretty damn. Oh shit.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
All right,
Pretty damn good.
They're good.
good deal.
So tender they fell out of my.
The Fats will be happy to hear that.